You've heard of Amazon. You've heard of Google. Maybe even Vanguard or JP Morgan. But have you ever heard of a company that controls more assets than most nations? A company so vast, its decisions ripple across global markets. Yet most people couldn't even recognize its CEO on the street. This is the story of BlackRock, a company often called the most powerful financial institution in the world. It doesn't sell you products. It doesn't advertise on TV. And yet, it's shaping everything, from your pension fund to your government's climate policy. Is BlackRock just an efficient asset manager? Or is it something far more secretive and far more dangerous? Welcome to the Monetary Mysteries. BlackRock began humbly in 1988, when a group of investment professionals, led by Larry Fink, set out to manage risk better than anyone else on Wall Street. But this wasn't just another hedge fund. From the beginning, BlackRock was about data, about building systems that saw beyond the surface into the true vulnerabilities of finance. By the early 2000s, it had become one of the largest players in the game. Today, BlackRock manages over $10 trillion in assets. To put that in perspective, that's more money than the entire GDP of Germany, Japan, and the UK combined. But BlackRock isn't just holding that money. It's influencing how that money is used. Across stock markets, real estate, energy, and even national infrastructure. Its largest clients? Governments, central banks, giant pension funds, and perhaps most curiously, its closest relationships aren't with politicians or presidents, but with algorithms. Because BlackRock doesn't just manage money. It commands the world's most powerful financial AI. Imagine this, a single platform that knows what nearly every major fund manager, pension board, and central bank is doing. And more importantly, what they might do next. That's Aladdin. No, not the magic lamp. This is far more real, and arguably far more powerful. Built by BlackRock's engineers, Aladdin began as a humble risk management tool. But over the past 2 decades, it has morphed into the digital brain of the financial world. Aladdin tracks over 21,000 portfolios, runs millions of simulations per day, and advises clients managing trillions of dollars. Let's put it another way. If a small tech startup in China goes bankrupt, and that triggers a ripple that affects an energy ETF in Europe, Aladdin sees it in real time. It doesn't just watch markets, it predicts them. It models scenarios. It tells investors what's safe and what isn't. Many of BlackRock's competitors even rely on Aladdin. In a sense, the competition is running on the same operating system. It's like if all airlines used the same autopilot, but only one company owned the software. And the scariest part? If Aladdin goes down, even for a moment, global markets could experience blindness. And no one outside of BlackRock really knows how deep that dependence runs. It's not just software. It's a financial nervous system, quietly pulsing under the skin of the global economy. Because BlackRock doesn't just manage money, it commands the world's most powerful financial AI. Aladdin. BlackRock didn't need to campaign. It didn't need a revolution. It simply filled a void. Let's rewind to 2008. As Lehman Brothers collapsed and panic rippled through Wall Street, governments were desperate for answers. They needed someone to analyze, interpret, and help unwind the toxic assets infecting the system. They didn't call a government agency. They called BlackRock. And Larry Fink answered. In the shadows of crisis, BlackRock became more than a money manager. It became a partner to power. They weren't just rescuing the system. They were designing the response. when the US Treasury couldn't figure out which banks were stable and which weren't. BlackRock's teams quietly ran the models. And they didn't stop there. Fast forward to 2020. The pandemic hit, markets froze, confidence shattered. Once again, BlackRock was asked to stabilize financial markets. But this time, they were granted unprecedented authority to buy corporate bonds on behalf of the Federal Reserve. Imagine that. A private company deciding what companies get lifelines and which ones don't. That's not just influence. That's economic triage at the highest level. And yet, most people never even knew it happened. BlackRock is everywhere, and not just in financial markets. Their alumni populate the halls of government like vines on a wall. In the US, former BlackRock executives have held top roles in the Treasury Department, Federal Reserve, and White House economic councils. And it's not just America. In Europe, Canada, and even Asia, BlackRock officials routinely consult with central banks, help design financial regulations, and sometimes write the playbook. Some might say it's expertise being put to good use. Others call it a conflict of interest, hiding in plain sight. When BlackRock advises the very institutions that regulate it, who's truly in charge? Larry Fink, the firm's CEO, has been a recurring guest at Davos, the World Economic Forum, and private meetings with heads of state. He's become a sort of financial diplomat, yet one that doesn't represent a nation, but rather a trillion-dollar entity with no borders. And let's not forget, BlackRock is a major shareholder in almost every major US company. From Apple to Pfizer, Tesla to Disney. It doesn't control them technically, but it holds the voting power to shape board decisions, executive pay, and long-term strategy. When you influence the influencers, you don't need to hold office. Not everyone is celebrating BlackRock's rise. In fact, across political lines, suspicion is growing. Some accuse BlackRock of manipulating markets under the guise of sustainable investing, pushing ESG scores that subtly reshape which industries thrive and which die. Critics on the right claim it's pushing a woke agenda. Critics on the left say it's greenwashing, using environmental rhetoric while investing in fossil fuels. But it's not just ideology. Some economists warn that BlackRock's dominance creates systemic risk. If they were to falter, a miscalculation by Aladdin, a massive portfolio error, a legal scandal, it wouldn't just hurt their clients. It could trigger a global chain reaction. And that's where the conspiracies creep in. Is BlackRock guiding financial stability or manufacturing dependence? Is it truly neutral or steering society under the cover of market logic? And worst of all, what happens when BlackRock becomes too big to criticize? Let's pause. Look around you. Your retirement account, your mortgage rate, the price of your groceries. You may never interact with BlackRock directly, but chances are they've touched your life. They own shares in the companies that build your phone, power your home, manage your data. Their AI helps decide what assets banks should hold and what they shouldn't. Their executives sit in rooms where global economic policies are drafted. And yet, they answer to no electorate. They operate without full public scrutiny. They claim neutrality, but wield unprecedented financial leverage. We live in an age of financial empires, and BlackRock may just be the first true empire without borders. So the real question isn't whether BlackRock is powerful. It's whether we've already accepted its silent rule. And if we have, who's left to challenge it?